Aye.
Mark Preziosi,
Here.
Darrell McCamey,
Here.
Ron Frazier,
Here.
Maria Bonfiglio,
Here.
Diane Francis, Marta Guggens,
Here.
so far just one absence.
Okay, so the first item for business is the new application for the Hollis School baseball field.
That's correct. And we've had a request from Mr. Chin to table it until next month.
And that was based on a conversation I had this morning with the mayor.
Okay, is there a motion to table the application for the Hollis School baseball field?
So moved.
So motion made by Ron Frazier. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mark Preziosi. All in favor?
Aye.
Christine?
Yep. Dr. Kurzberg,
Aye.
Mark Preziosi,
Aye.
Darrell McCamey,
Yes.
Ron Frazier,
Yes.
Maria Bonfiglio,
Yes.
Diane Francis. Still not here. Marta Guggens.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. And on to the next application for the Braintree High School skate park.
And Dr. Kurzberg, perhaps we could just back up. I want to ask Nelson, do you want the vote tonight for the discussion you and I had with the Winfield ball field?
Well, at this point, Christine, I'm not sure where the mayor is going to go with
Okay.
the Hollis school softball field conversion. So rather than close one end, I'd rather keep that open until I'm
Okay.
able to bring this onto the next month's. Now,
Yep.
does this go automatically into next month's agenda, or is that?
Yeah, we can do that. I think Dr. Kurzberg, you don't have any issue with that, do you?
No.
Open it. Yeah, okay. I just wanted to be clear. I didn't know if you wanted action done.
No, at this point, Christine, I'd rather to keep that valid and viable
Okay,
until such time that I have a positive action from the committee to relocate the 5070 baseball field.
okay. Sorry to interrupt, Doctor.
No, that's okay. So we do have a new application. Chris, are you going to be speaking to that, or
Yeah,
Nelson?
no, I'll speak on behalf of the rec department on that one tonight. Doctor, I'll take my lead from you. Do you want me to just give a brief outline and then we can go to questions, or however you want to do it?
That sounds good. Sure.
All right. So just to be clear, the agenda states, Braintree High School skate park. What we're looking for currently from the CPC is $20,370 in order to to retain a company to design and prepare the construction and bid documents for a new skate park, which will be located on the site of the existing skate park. As a bit of background, the existing skate park is now 21 years old. And unfortunately, it hasn't stood the test of time as well as it had been expected to. When it was first constructed in 1999, the design of these facilities was not as well understood as it is now. And some of the materials used, they were built mostly asphalt. They have not held up being exposed to the elements, 365 days a year. And so if you've been up to the site recently, you would see a lot of cracking, a lot of chipping away, a lot of wear and tear that has gone well beyond any sort of ability to bring the park back up to any sort of usable type of facility. And we estimate that we're probably dealing with not years, but months left of when the facility can still be used for its original purpose. So that's why we propose to eventually we'll be proposing to demolish the existing park and replace it on the site it is now with a new park. And to do that, we feel that we need to retain the services of a professional design company that specializes in the design of these skate park facilities. And I will say a lot of communities around here, Quincy just recently opened a new one, a new skate park after, and also Situate a couple years ago opened one after their skate park, which had been built in the mid-90s, suffered from deterioration over the years. And we feel confident that if we do it right this time, a new skate park built by having a professional design company and using these new techniques that are used in the building of these facilities, we feel confident that a new facility can last nearly twice as long as the facility we have there now, which would mean that those who come after us would not have to revisit this in another 20 years. Just a quick breakdown. We did have this company called American Ram Company. They operate out of Missouri. They prepared a concept design for us. They came out and had a town meeting with us with people who were interested in the skate park. They prepared a concept design. They prepared a rough estimate. So the funds we're seeking tonight are to retain them to complete the full design of it, prepare all the construction documents, all the specifications that will be needed, and then to help to assist us in preparing of the documents that would be required to build the project in the end, which we would anticipate doing. We anticipate this process taking a couple months, and that we'd be ready to move forward with construction, hopefully sometime in the spring, at the latest, early summer of next year. We did send over in our application packet a detailed proposal of what American Ramp would be doing for us. So we do have a great deal of interest in this park, and I'm sure you remember 20 years ago when the park first opened, the amount of interest that there was for a new facility. It got to the point where people who were using it were limited to 1 hour of use before they could leave because the line was forming. The rec department had to station people up there. Unfortunately, due to the deterioration of the current facility, skaters and bikers in Braintree have found themselves traveling distances to other towns to use their facilities. And we feel that it's time to upgrade our facility here. And I would note that we do anticipate, beyond what the interest that there is now, we do anticipate even more interest in skating and biking due to the fact those sports are returning to next year's Olympic Games. So we anticipate a lot of, especially youngsters, seeing it on TV and then wanting to try out some of the stuff they see the Olympians doing. So we want to be in a position to support that. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Nelson, do you have anything you want to add?
I covered it pretty much, Chris.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you, Chris. Are there questions from the committee? You can raise your hand and if you have a question.
I have a couple questions.
Okay, go ahead, Maria.
Okay, I'm sorry, Marta. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh,
I saw the hand.
go ahead.
I didn't know how to raise the hand. So a
Look
couple.
like this.
I was looking for it on the screen. I was like, where is it on
Yeah.
the screen?
Yeah.
Just a couple quick questions. First of all, I do love this project. I will tell you, every time I go down that access road to the high school, there are kids in that skateboard park. So I think it gets well used today. And when I go by it, it definitely needs attention. I think it's needed attention for a little while now. So I'm so glad we've got a proposal going to give it the attention. My questions are we thinking about changing the size of this park?
So the concept design, and I'm sorry, I should have included it and I can forward it to members. The actual size, the current park is about 13,000 square feet. So the actual size of the proposal is actually a little bit smaller. It's only about 9,000 square feet. Based on the concept design, and which may change slightly when they do the full design. This is basically a schematic. It's going to be a little bit narrower, and probably if you're standing like with your back to Sunset Lake, it's
Mhm.
probably going to extend a little bit further, but it will be a bit narrower.
Right.
Just it won't be a perfect rectangle as it is now. It's going to be, if I'll be happy to hold it up here so you can see. I'm sorry, I should have included it in the packet.
No worries. I would love to get a copy of that at some
Sure,
point.
absolutely,
but
absolutely. Be
yes,
happy to send
yes.
that over. So it will be just slightly smaller and shaped differently than the current one, but we don't anticipate it being any sort of any bigger than its current footprint.
Okay.
So.
Okay. And then I did want to mention, it's been mentioned along the way a few times that the actual land that this skate park in is, the skate park itself has maybe sunk over the years. Do we have any worries about the ground there?
As of right now, we don't. We will. We did. I will say that I did some substantial amount of research on the original skate park, and it was basically handled pretty much in-house by at the time was the Parks Commission. From what I could see, they didn't seek any sort of planning or conservation approval. But once we have the plan in place, we're going to make sure we do our due diligence on that.
Okay.
But right as of right, obviously anything on the high school property, you have to, be
Sure.
careful of that. It's near the lake. But as of right now, we don't have any concerns about this, about that at all.
Okay. And my final question is, I know that there's a memorial there in front of the skate park.
Yes.
And will that stay? Will that be, that could use some beautification itself?
Yes, absolutely. Our intention is, as a bit of background, the park itself is named the Messina Park. It was donated by Mr. Messina, the late Mr. Messina, in honor of his grandsons. It is our intention to name the new facility, to keep the name there as well. And we would certainly certainly try to upgrade the current plaque and monument there.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions from the committee? Marta?
Do we have any idea of the overall approximate cost of this project? And if so, would the Parks and Recreation coming back to CPA for 100% monies?
Yes, Marta, that is our intention. The estimate that was given as part of the schematic design was about just under $420,000. Now, we do have a group that is fundraising, but we don't anticipate any more than $15,000-$20,000 coming from them. So it would be, we would be coming back at some point, hopefully early in the new year, making a proposal to you to seek funds.
Thank you.
Carol?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So Chris, when it says similar projects in other communities, is that just the design cost?
To be honest with you, Daryl, I think that was just, that was more the whole thing. We weren't able to find exactly somebody going to a CPC just for this purpose. However, we felt here that it was appropriate to break it up and not just go for the whole thing at one time. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just tagging on to what Marta was talking about. So you think 420 additional?
That is the estimate that was given to us by the company that prepared the schematic for us.
Okay, and are they the same ones that are going to do the building?
They are not. We would have to bid out. They
Okay,
are the ones we checked with Lorraine C., who handles procurement. As far as the design portion and the preparation of the bid documents, that would be exempt from having a bid out, so we would be retaining them. However, the actual building of the park itself, the elimination of the existing park and the building of it, which would all be covered in that estimate, that is something we would have to build out. So it would be possible that we may be able to find a lower bid somewhere.
sure, okay. I like the fact that you said that you had a town meeting and
Yep.
that people who were interested attended, so.
Yeah. I will say that was some time ago. That was pre-COVID. That was December of last year.
Got it, okay.
But
So, I'm sorry, my point is, so this is gonna be a custom design for that site.
yes, based on feedback, we went back and forth. They came out in December. We had the town meeting. We spent about 2 hours in the Cahill Auditorium with a group of individuals who responded to the fact that we advertised the meeting. They came with some ideas. There was a lot of discussion. And then this group took what was discussed and what was asked for, sent it back, and we went through a couple of iterations. We were able to gather everybody who attended the town meeting's email address, and we went through a couple of schematics that needed to kind of be fine-tuned, if you would say, over the early months of 2020. Before about April, we finally kind of settled on a concept design, we're calling it.
Okay. I mean, I think that's a big positive to have a custom design.
Mhm.
And I also like the fact that you have potential donors,
Mhm.
you know, and projects like this. We've had other projects where, you know, you may or may not have had donors. So I think that's also positive. And I guess my last question would be, so if it's let's call it 400
Yeah.
additional. So that's going to be in the spring sometime?
More than likely,
February?
once, if, our timetable would probably put it that we'd be coming back to you around the springtime. However, as we know, with everything these days, you know, we we'll see what the winter has for us. But our hope would be to be before you sometime in the spring with the design, with all this completed, with a full design for you to review, and to have a proposal for you with the exact cost estimate of what we'd be looking for on that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I'm all set. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. Any other questions from committee members? Okay, I have a few, Chris.
Yes, Doctor.
What's the current material that's going to be used for it?
So the new facility will be concrete. The existing facility is asphalt. And as I mentioned earlier, that hasn't done the job for the last 20 years. So this material would be reinforced concrete, which is, when skate parks were first being constructed in the 1990s, asphalt was the material of choice. Now, as a lot of towns are running into a problem with their skate parks, not holding up, with, they're on their last legs, if you will. We've been assured, and we've done some research too, that, as I said, concrete will probably last twice as long as the existing park. So we're looking for this park to last well into the second half of this century. So concrete will be the material. Obviously, there'll be some rails there as part of the actual skating portion that skaters would use. But the actual most of the material would be concrete, reinforced concrete.
Okay, great. So is that what you meant, Chris, by those coming after us?
What's that? Oh, those.
Yeah, it's a flip comment.
Oh,
You
yes,
made
yeah.
some reference to none of us would be here for the new.
Well, we're all going to be here,
skate
Doc.
park.
We're all going to be here for the 40th anniversary of the new skate park.
Okay. What about tagging? I don't know what else, if there's another name for it.
Yeah,
but
so we don't see a lot of that in other skate parks. I would note that when the original skate park opened, there was a large tagging incident that I was able to do some research on, and fortunately, the people who did that were caught this was going back 21 years ago. That's always a concern with these types of facilities, but the people who use these types of facilities, they take great pride in their sport, and that's really what, for Nelson and I over the past year or so, learning about these facilities, we've really seen that the skaters and bikers, they take an incredible amount of pride in these facilities, and we don't anticipate much of that happening, especially to a relatively new facility. Now, not to be flippant, Doctor, I can't speak for those who are going to come down the line in the years ahead, but as of right now, the population that's going to be using this facility is people who are very dedicated to their sport. They see it almost as a craft, and we are pretty confident that those who use this facility are going to take good care of it.
Okay,
And we'll certainly always be ready to do maintenance, and that sort of thing. But we're looking at this very positively, and we think we're going to be okay.
okay. Great. So just for my own, how different is skateboarding now than it was? How different will the skate park look? And do you know what components it will have that this one doesn't have?
Yeah. So to begin with, it's going to be more, whereas the area now is pretty much flat with different kind of, I'll call them units placed on top of them. This one's going to have a lot more slopes, a lot more stairs in it. It's not going to be a totally flat surface. It's going to be a bit more conducive also for those who do biking as well as skating. And when I say biking, I mean kind of, the trick like BMX type biking. So we anticipate almost a 50-50 type use at that point. So that's going to be the biggest difference from what is there now. When you go up to it, you'll see a lot more slopes in the surface. You'll see a lot more stairs in the surface, as opposed to just the flat surface with different type units on top of it.
Okay, great. Thanks. And just my last question, I assume the town council either has or would be reviewing the contract before?
Of course, yeah. We'll before we sign off on anything, we'll send it over to them.
Yeah.
But I will say Lorraine C has reviewed it, and she has confirmed to us that this is something we can enter into because it's a public works design, that it would be exempt from having to bid out.
Okay.
Not the construction of the park itself, just simply what we're talking about tonight, to have them design and prepare the bid documents.
Okay. Okay, great. Yes, Christine.
I just wanted to ask Chris 2 quick questions.
Sure, Christine.
Did, in your estimate for the budget for the design, you have a total of 20, 11 for 200 and 9 for construction documents.
Mhm.
Is this designer gonna do your permitting work?
That will probably be handled by us, as well as that's going to be handled mostly by us, and I would assume likely by the firm that will actually be awarded the construction of the facility itself. So that's probably a couple steps down the line.
Yeah, I guess the reason I ask is I'm just wondering if you're shortchanging yourself with this request because of the situations we've had up there with the Peterson Pool and the soil conditions.
Yep.
I would think that you would want to have at least a test pit or 2 done in that area to determine the water level, because that will then determine the design
Okay.
and the
Let me,
materials.
Yeah. Let me write this down here. We can certainly have our engineering department do test pits. We've had them do them on a couple of things, a couple of projects for us. So we can certainly talk to engineering about that.
Okay.
Get an idea.
I just didn't want you to have to come back and ask for more
Oh, I
funding.
understand. No, I
Um,
appreciate that.
And then, do you think that when you go to construction, the 420 takes into an assumption that there's going to be, the nonprofits contribution?
Yeah, we anticipate we're probably looking at about 15,000 from that group at the most. We haven't heard from them in a couple of weeks, but at the most, probably about $20,000 from them.
So if you don't get it, are you asking for 440?
No, I'm talking, we'd probably be closer to with the donations, we'd probably be closer to 400. That what would be
Oh, okay,
requested.
so the 420 is representative. of the
420
total.
is the exact estimate they gave us was 419,572.60.
Okay,
So
because my thought was when you put your application together for the construction of it, demolition could be done by our DPW as long
Yep.
as they, handled it correctly. And I don't know if that price of 420 includes demolition.
yes, it does. It include, they anticipate demolition of the existing park to be just over $7,000. So we could certainly look into that when we submit our application. If we can talk to the director and see if that's something we'd be able to do in-house. Because I mean, to be honest with you, as I mentioned, the existing park isn't in good shape. So I don't know how hard it's going to be to demolish it.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay. If there are no further questions, is there a template for a motion?
There is.
Okay, Mark,
All right, in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 44B of the general laws, the Community Preservation Committee recommends the appropriation of $20,370 from the Recreation Fund for the skate park.
Excuse me, Mark, but it has to be either open space or unreserved.
All right, unreserved, I'm sorry.
Okay,
The unreserved fund for the skate park design project. Said funds that to be expended under the direction of the Community Preservation Committee and the Director of Planning and Community Development.
been a motion made. Is there a second?
Second,
Motion made and seconded by Marta Guggens. Motion by Mark Preziosi. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote.
Dr. Kurzberg,
Yes.
Mark Preziosi,
Yes.
Darryl McCamey,
Yes.
Ron Frazier,
Yes.
Maria Bonfiglio,
Yes.
Diane Francis,
Yes.
Marta Guggens.
yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Everybody,
Thank
and
you.
thank you, Chris and Nelson.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, members. Thank you, Christine.
Okay, moving on to our next item is the continued application for the East Braintree Little League at Watson Park, and Andrew Berman is joining us again. Welcome back, Andrew.
Thank you for having me again.
Uh,
Appreciate it.
You left our last meeting with some work to do. And,
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
So
Um,
maybe you could just give us a brief overview of what's happened since then and talk a little bit about what changes, if any, have occurred.
Okay, so the initial submission, as well as the February submission, were essentially, I think entirely materials only. So since that time, I've gotten estimates for revised estimates, updated estimates within the last couple of weeks for the materials, but as well as for the demolition of certain aspects of the project and then the subsequent installation of it. So if you see the the revised, most recent submission, it breaks it down by field for the scoreboards, the dugouts, the bleachers, the batting cage, and the protective netting. I've also been in front of the Conservation Commission and got an authorization, an RDA authorization from them. And I've been in front of the town council, who has given us the, I guess, a determination of non-applicability for their involvement. So what you've got now, the most recent submission, is certainly, significantly more than the initial application, and that is accounted for because of the installation and demolition figures primarily. And in addition to that, we added, as we discussed in the February meeting, the bleachers, 12 bleachers, as well as 11 concrete pads to go underneath them. One concrete pad remains viable over by Delore. That added $65,745. So the scope of the project has remained exactly as described initially. We were able to get the necessary approvals or determinations from the various town boards. And you've got the total amounts. The contractor is Fleming Brothers, who was brought to my attention by Nelson, who has also done work in other parts of the town. I think they did a couple of the fields over at the high school. And what you've got, I think, it's certainly a lot of money. I really do appreciate that it is a lot of money. It will make a huge difference in the way that the Watson Park looks and functions, and it will significantly enhance not only the experience of East Braintree Little League players, but we're only down there from April to to June, usually, sometimes into July with travel. And I think there are improvements that are going to benefit the overall way that the park looks. What we intend to do with an approval, if I'm not making any assumptions that that's going to happen, but if we were to get the approval, we're going to try to use it as a fundraising mechanism to try and get some of the other aspects that are part of the application but have not been priced out yet. It's the subsequent phase. But we're going to try to get some big money donors to complete, for instance, the remainder of the fencing on the fields, maybe to get the fields leveled, to do some of the pathways. So if you were inclined to grant us, this money, we would use it wisely, and then we would try to parlay it into additional funds to try and get the park to look even better.
Okay, well, Andrew, you're really to be commended for all the work that you've done, and anyone else that has worked with you. You've really seem to have covered all of your bases. Are there some questions that the committee members have or comments? Because Christine.
I'm sorry. I always feel like the skunk at the lawn party here.
Not
but,
at all.
The question I had is, you mentioned the Fleming Brothers. Have you already contracted with them?
Oh, no, certainly not.
Okay.
I've gotten an estimate from them. It's part of the package.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I
haven't
just
committed to
wanted-
anything.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because the value of the work is going to require a competitive bid, and you're going to have to go out and solicit it. So although,
Right.
unless Nelson has some type of standing contract with them, it's going to have to go out to bid.
I'm happy to do that, but I was told that because I'm a private, representative of a private entity, that it's not subject to the multiple bid process. But if that's what it takes, then I'll do it. But
It is subject to it because it's public land, and you're not the owner of the land. The town of Braintree is. So I just want to make sure, in saying that you have counted in prevailing wage and things like that into
Yes.
your estimates. Okay.
I
Fleming should know that. He's done work in town before, but that's important that because it's public land, it has to go out for public bid.
Okay, I'm happy to do that. I would have to consult with somebody on the process to do that. But I'm happy to do whatever it takes.
So what I would suggest is, Dr. Kurzberg, that, you know, the process would probably be with Nelson putting out the bid through his department. Your choices are to either do it that way with our oversight, or we do what we call a CPA grant, which gives basically a check to the organization, but then they have to make sure that it's been bid correctly, the prevailing wages, the certified payrolls, all that kind of stuff. So I just want the board considering that when they're thinking about a vote.
Nelson, you
I think that
be
the,
happy doing that, or?
no, is just going back to the contractual agreement with whether it be Fleming Brothers or anybody else. Now, would that be between Braintree Recreation, the town of Braintree, and the contractor? It would rule out East Braintree Little League?
Well, I mean, you're the property owner, or you're the custody of the town property, which is
Okay.
Watson Park. So usually, you know, similar, we've done stuff with school departments and other departments, they take the lead in doing the procurement for it. But because it's public land,
Yep.
it can't be given, you know, either that or Mr. Berman has to do all that bookkeeping. I think if you talk to Lorraine, she would be able to guide you on what needs to be done.
Okay. I mean,
Let me put it to you this way, if Mr. Berman owned the property and then was the proponent of the project, we could just have a check. We've done that with some of the churches in town. For example, Old Souls Church, they weren't subject to public bidding because it was private property and a private organization. But when you're on public land, it said, the state statute says that you have to have competitive bidding. And the threshold of the amount of money is also leaning that way.
I don't know how the rest of the committee feels, but I feel that it should be under the purview of the rec department. Do you maintain the fields, Nelson? Do you mow the lawns or any of that?
yeah, we do that. I mean, I can have a,
It's the town of Braintree land. And
I can offer my department's assistance with the, you know, the procurement of it, but, you know, when the bids come in type of thing, we would certainly want the recreation department to be part of like the review team of the proposals and the estimates.
So would I, by the way. I would be much more comfortable if there was some involvement from the town for the reasons that you stated.
so you don't care whether you get a check or whether the town does the project.
As long as as long as it's moving towards, towards completion, I don't care. But at the same time, I'm willing to do the work. I don't want to, I know that, the town is very stretched for resources right now, including the Parks Department. So if it's something, that I can do, I'm happy to do it. I'm not trying to pawn it off on anybody. But you ultimately are the decision makers, and it's going to be whatever you're more comfortable with. But I'm willing to have the town involved at any level that they would like to be. And on the flip side of that is I'm willing to do as much of it myself as you would like me to do it.
Any comments from the committee?
Uh,
Mark?
Andrew, I'm just curious,
Yeah.
what's the total
Mark?
application at this point? I guess I'm a little confused.
The total amount,
Yes.
it's 317, 267.53.
Okay, so the 317 figure. I was getting confused between that and the original application.
Yeah, that's been revised a couple of times now, the original
Yep.
application. Yep.
And I applaud you because it seems to be an all-encompassing project. I guess a couple of questions, and I've been involved with Braintree American for a long time. Do you have any insight into whether you could get some of your members to participate and provide any sort of resources. We've been very fortunate up at Hollingsworth. We've had some very generous people who've stepped up and done projects for us, through the years. And I was wondering if you would consider tapping into that market as in combination with this.
In terms of labor
In terms
or,
of, for instance, we put in a small field when Chris Duffy had passed away, a T-ball field. The Messina Enterprise came up and leveled the field and took out some large rocks so that, we didn't have to pay for that.
Yeah, I mean, we're a small community. I'm quite sure that if we put the word out, we could get people to come down and help in some respect. If that's what you're saying, I'm not quite sure what,
Well, I
What-
guess that's what I'm asking. I mean, I've never been bashful about asking people to participate up at Little League, and we've had overwhelming support, frankly. I mean, we've had a lot of support. So I was curious if you've reached out to people already to do that sort of thing, or is this your first stab at it?
No, I haven't reached out to, to anybody. We don't feel like, any of this is within our capabilities of doing. It seems like it's pretty major stuff that requires, professionals to do it. But I mean, we have people that are, constantly giving their time to help maintain the facility down there. But as it relates to these specific things, these seem to be things that are going to require the involvement of, professional contractors. But we put in our sweat equity down there. But as to these particular items, I'm not seeing where we could just get random people to come in and and to do it. But like I said, what we would intend on doing is to take this these monies and use it as sort of a mechanism to try and get big money donors to complete certain aspects of the field, like the remainder of the fences and maybe leveling them and things like that. But I'm looking at it more as a monetary thing than a labor thing, because I just don't see, if we got 20 people down there to do it, whether anybody there is actually going to know what they're doing.
Yeah, okay. How is the league doing these days in terms of participation and that sort of thing?
We're doing very well. Our younger levels are higher than they've ever been. We had some attrition with the COVID, but we expect our numbers in this year and in the coming years to be as high as they've ever been, at least in the 12 years that I've been doing it, 12, 13 years. Yeah, we're doing well as a league in terms of community participation, but we have a small pool to draw from to begin with.
And is the neighborhood association sort of calmed down? I remember years ago, it used to be pretty contentious. Is that relatively calm now?
Well, you've got a few, well, how do I put, people who are more vocal than others, maybe one or two, really. I've made an effort to speak to the individuals who show up at the meetings, explain to them what we're doing. We make an effort to keep our facility clean, including along the streets. We clean all up and down the streets in front of the houses. I think a vast majority of the neighbors that I've spoken to about this are in favor of it and appreciate that we add value to the park in terms of keeping it clean. And obviously the Parks and Recs Department does a vast majority of the maintenance, but we do a good amount down there to keep it looking good. And in my experience, even with the people who were initially adverse, when you have a conversation with them, I think that a vast majority of them are in favor of it.
Okay, yeah, no, I think it's an ambitious project, no doubt, and I think the facility is in need of it. So I'm in favor of it. I actually had a chance last fall to walk through there, and I was walking my son's dog. He lived over in the Landing for a period of time, and the one thing I noticed that you have to deal with that we don't, for whatever reason, have to deal with up at Braintree American is the goose problem, which is pretty significant, I would tell, just based on the amount of dodging I had to do when I was walking the dog. So
Yeah, I mean, that's just the way it is down there. There's not a whole lot that can be done about it because of environmental issues and just, what can be done about it. I know that, like at the Braintree Golf Course, I was told a story that they took the geese and flew them to some remote area of the country. I don't know if it was the Midwest or where it was, and turned around and came back, and the geese beat them back, back to the golf course. So we have a machine that goes and picks it up, so
Yeah.
we keep the fields clean that way, and we're always cleaning down the pathways. But it's just a fact of life down there. There's not really a whole lot that we've been able to do about it. I know that I've heard word of a strain of grass that might be impalatable to the geese, but I'm not convinced that there's ever anything we're going to be able to do about it. If you'd like to take a few off our hands, we'd be happy to send them over to Braintree American.
No, we're good. We'll let you keep them all.
All right.
So are we ready for a motion?
I am.
Okay, go ahead.
In accordance with the provisions of Chapter 44B of the general laws, the Community Preservation Committee recommends the appropriation of $317,267.53 from the unreserved fund for the Watson Park Improvement Project. Said funds are to be expended under the direction of the Community Preservation Committee and the Director of Planning and Community Development.
Motion made by Mark Preziosi for $317,267.53 for the Watson Park improvements. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Christine?
Dr. Kurzberg,
Aye.
Mark Preziosi,
Aye.
Darrell McCamey,
Yes.
Ron Frazier,
Yes.
Maria Bonfiglio,
Yes.
Diane Francis,
You're muted, Diane.
Yes.
and Marta Guggens.
Yes,
Oh, wow.
Unanimous.
Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Andrew.
Thank you so much.
and
I can't even
Good
tell you
luck.
how much
Good
I
luck.
appreciate
Thank
this.
you.
Now,
Good luck with the project.
thank
And
you. Now,
Nelson, thank you.
yes, thank you, Nelson, and thank you, everybody else, because a lot of people spent a lot of time to help me get through this. But what is the next step for me at this point?
If I may suggest, I think Nelson, yourself and I should sit down and have a kind of outline the next steps for you
Okay,
and
great.
how to go about.
All right,
Thank you.
I'll be in touch.
We do go, this is a recommendation from the committee. It gets sent up to the mayor's office. They'll put it in a motion form and it will go to the council. And they'll have a hearing at Ways and Means. It would be best that you be part of that and we'll let you know when it happens. And then the full council votes on it. And once it's appropriated and the mayor sign it, we're ready to go.
Okay, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you.
All right,
Yeah, good luck, Andrew.
thank you. I'm all set.
Yes.
You're all set.
All right.
Okay, old business and project updates. The Armstrong Dam Public Access Project.
So tomorrow night, we're before the full council for the appropriation. We found out from the accounting office that when we appropriated it out of the open space, there wasn't enough funds, so we moved it to unreserved for that portion of it, and that's, the council accepted that amendment. So that's gone through Ways and Means, it's gotten a favorable, it's before the full council tomorrow night. And Kelly had a presentation, I think it was last Monday night, I don't know if anyone was able to participate in it, that kind of outlined the whole project with the dam and the walkway, so.
I was on that, Christine. She did a great job. I think it was well attended. A lot of people, I believe,
Did it?
on it, asked a lot of questions.
It was, and I attended also, and just for the committee's information, I received an email from Kelly apologizing that she had not acknowledged the Community Preservation Committee as part of having been involved in all of that. And so I told her it was not a problem and that she did a great job with the presentation.
Thank you.
But
So the Middle Street project is also on for tomorrow night with the council. We'll hopefully get an approval on that. It made it out of Ways and Means favorably. I don't know what to tell you about Doherty, Jim, to be quite honest. I need to get with Nelson and see. I think the last time we got an update was when Derek was here, and that was basically the design had been done and they were going out to bid. So I need to get you more information for the next month on that one. Today was the bid closure for the historic inventory. I think you folks know that we put that one out now for a second time because we got no bids the first time. So we worked with Mass Historical and they reduced the number of sites that we would ask for the bids to come in. We only had one company from New York bid on it. It literally came in the door this morning. I haven't even looked at the proposal to see if they're qualified for it. So I will send you an email once we take a look at that and I can talk with the procurement folks to see what happened. We went out, we worked with Mass Historical this time, putting the solicitation out to quite a few more people. So I don't know what seems to be the problem. Last time we were told that the problem was it was too much work for the money, but I gotta find out if that's the case or it's something else. Why after 2 times we're not getting the response. So I'll update you on that. Morrison School, I forgot to ask Connor, he's been monitoring the work going on out there. But the last time he reported to me, they were doing the site work. There was some equipment coming. They're not done. You know, the weather worked to their favor over the last week. So I will also find out from him how far along that project is. And the cemetery, Elm Street Cemetery, the Historic Commission didn't meet in November, so that's going to be discussed at the December meeting. And I think we know that situation. The restrictions, our town solicitor had a baby girl, the new one that just joined us like a month and a half before. So now she's on maternity leave. So, you know, when it rains, it pours here. So I don't really have any update on that. The other item that I want to tell you about is Grove and Liberty. I didn't put that on here, but I think the board should be aware of it since you were the ones that recommended the funding. We've hit a snag in that the abutter, the Prules that live next to the property have appealed the rezone. And so we got notice of that and the solicitor is looking into it. There's 2 camps of thought. One thinks that it's not something appealable. Others say it may be. So in light of that, Mr. Clemens, who was the proponent, has, how do I want to politely say this, kind of gotten his dander up about it and is proposing to come back in with the 40B. And he was here this afternoon with the 40B application. It wasn't a complete submission. I wasn't able to take it in. I'm obligated to take it in when it is a complete submission, but I don't know what to tell you with this. I've notified the mayor's office. I'm trying to get them to see if they can talk with Mr. Clements. We've tried to talk to him, myself and Melissa, and we haven't had much success. He's kind of angry about a couple of things going on in the town. So I just wanted to give you that kind of information so that if you're reading or hearing or watching social media, you know what's going on. So that seems to be it under old business.
Is
Christine,
it possible, Christine, that he's just posturing in the hopes that the neighbor determines that the CVS is a whole lot more palatable than a 40B development?
He might be, I don't, and it could be a knee-jerk response. I don't know, we're not privy to the world that he's in to know. I have to tell you, in all the years that I've worked zoning, I've never had a rezone appeal done. And, city has different requirements in zoning than towns. So if it had been a town meeting vote, the Attorney General would only agree to an appeal if the procedure wasn't followed correctly. So the last time I talked with John Goldrosen about it, we followed the procedure correctly and he felt that it was a frivolous appeal. But he's no longer with us here in the town. And so Nicole and Crystal are going to have to take that up.
Christine, do you know what the reasoning is for the appeal?
It's kind of funny because they actually want the 40B, which I can't fathom having a 4-story building next to my house. But for some reason, they feel that's a better alternative for their situation than the CVS. I mean, ultimately, they wouldn't like anything there, but of the two, they've come out and said they wanted the 40B over the CVS.
Oh, wow.
So I figure it's going to raise its head and, it be discussion. So I just wanted the commission to know the board to know what's going on at our end. So as of right now, we do not have an application for a 40B yet. But as soon as it comes in, I will at least let the committee know it's been filed. And, we only have 30 days to hold the hearing. So we have to do that probably before Christmas. And I mean, I counted out the days. It gets us, Jesus, like the week of Christmas. So we're going to ask him for an extension on that because that's just crazy. No one's going to be focused on that till after the new year. So he doesn't have to give it to us, but I would hope he would, just to be fair about it.
Christine, could I just add so that everybody knows, there are going to be other multifamily units. So, just like Marta exclaimed, you think this is problematic, you wait till the other ones start coming down and people find out about them.
So I guess, as soon as I hear things from the solicitor's office, he has technically bought the lot from the parties. So he's the owner and we have not signed a PNS. So that's kind of where we are right now.
Because I noticed we still have the balance of the money in the financial report.
Well, it's been earmarked. As far as Mark's concerned, once the council approves it, he earmarks it. So it's not available. Maybe it may still show up, but it's technically not available.
Okay.
So I sent everybody a 2021. I can't believe we're talking about 21 schedule of meetings. I know you're all dying to put it on your calendar, but did anyone have any issues with it, or can we go ahead and reserve those dates?
We can now. If things change, they change, but
So when I reserve them, I reserve a room too. So until, in case something comes up 4 months from now and we can go back to meeting collectively, we'll have the rooms too. So,
okay. Same room, same time.
yep.
Okay, that still works for everybody.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yep.
Yes.
Our CPC manager position, not a hot item. We're trying to get it out there in some other places. I'm hoping I can find someone that has some interest. If you know of anyone, send them our way. But as of right now, we haven't got any applicants. I'm going to ask the CPC Coalition if they could put it on their website and maybe we could reach out that way.
This is a part-time position, right?
Yeah, it's not very many hours. I think it's less than 10 hours a week. The pay's not too bad. It's up to $20, I think, an hour. So,
Maybe I missed it, Christine. What about the Elm Street Cemetery topper fence? Did I miss that?
there's been no resolution on it. The commission didn't meet, the historic commission didn't meet in November, so it's on their December, agenda.
Okay, any questions on the monthly financial report? I know it came in late. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to look at it yet or not.
I just wanted to point out to you because it came up at the, when we went before Ways and Means, the open space account. He shows it as 730,000. We've appropriated approximately 550. So we're down to 180. That's why we weren't able to take the Armstrong Dam. We didn't have enough in the account. So the finance director moved it over from unreserved. So he said what I don't know is he's got one item up through 1020, and then he has 1130, but the unreserved, we took 300 for Armstrong, and then what we'll have out of that tonight for what you approved will be considered. So
Do we need to take any action on that?
no, I just think it's almost like the accounting is back, it never catches up to what you guys are doing. It's just something that we need to keep in mind. And it was my fault with the Armstrong Trail. I didn't remember that we had already done one appropriation already. So we're pretty close. We're down to 180. We'll watch it more closely. We got plenty of money in community housing. We'd love to get something going there. You will see something from Melissa. She's trying to work with something on some housing restrictions with Windjammer. She'll be getting an application together where they're trying to buy down on the rental. So, but there's other accounts there to be used, so.
Okay, any other items that have come up that we're not aware of at this point? No? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion made by Ron Frazier to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second,
Seconded by Mark Preziosi.
Dr. Kurzberg,
Aye.
Mark Preziosi,
yes.
Daryl McCamey,
Yes.
Ron Frazier,
Yes.
Maria Bonfiglio,
Yes.
Diane Francis,
Yes.
Marta Guggens.
Yes.
Motion passes. Meeting is adjourned. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Your next
Yes,
meeting
you
is
as well.
Twice.
December 14th is your next meeting.
Stay safe, everybody, and healthy.
You too.
Thank you. Happy
You
Thanksgiving.
too. Thank you.
Thank
Night.
you. Good night.
Good night.
Okay.
Enjoy the holidays.